So basically, Ocean Grove has a new album coming out on November 22nd called Oddworld. Just tell me a little bit about it, Sam, because this album, it sounds super cool. I just heard it last night, and I'm like, whoa, this is like very different from the Ocean Grove I remember growing up. So yeah, give me a rundown of what this album is all about.
Yeah. First off, nice to speak to you.
Nice to speak to you.
Yeah, it's for OG for us, it's a return to sort of a new metal sound, which yeah, the last few records we've been trying some stuff. We've been trying some different flavors that we just needed to get out and wanted to get out. But I say this, even personally for me, I think I just wanted to explore going back to the heavier side of Ocean Grove, and bringing that more to the front than we maybe have on the last release. We've been sprinkling the new metal stuff for a long time. Yeah,
definitely.
But as a forefront, it's been good to kind of bring that back and have it received, the way that it has been. Because, like I said, even just for feeling, I was ready to play that sort of sound again, and music is so much about touring that when you can walk onto a stage and look at a set list and think about all the songs that you're going to play, and it's exciting because it's filled with super, fun and heavy moments and stuff. It's a thrill to play every night. So it's a return to our sounds that, we're kind of at the roots of Ocean Grove. That's the most important part for us is it feels like this whole period of creating the record and the record itself is a return to the roots, and it's just a good feeling. It's a good feeling in Camp OG.
100%. It blew me away when I first cranked it up, and I was bobbing my head along the whole time, like, oh, this is like the old school new metal sound. And like even the last track, that OTP featuring New Babylon, I was like, this sounds like something from like a cult classic, like action movie, like The Matrix or something going on. I'm just like, man, this is my vibe. It's so sick. The last time I saw you guys, it was down here in Adelaide at the Bridgeway Hotel.
Yeah,
you probably remember being there. I was actually the system tech that night.
There you go.
On the thing. So I was like, hey, it's them guys. And, so you play the drums, don't you, Sam, in the band?
I do, yeah.
Yes. You have an interesting setup with your kit. I noticed when you were playing, you had this little snare drum.
Yeah.
I think it's called what was that called? A piccolo snare or something?
It's a popcorn snare. It sounds very much like a piccolo snare.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a reason why you use that? Is that for a very specific part in some songs that you use that on?
Yeah. So I think with this record, I just wanted to create something a bit more fun for myself. And a big part of, I guess, authentic new metal is a very, very high pitch cranked snare drum.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily, something that I love for my main snare and my main sort of thing. But I have to give a shout out to Dan Kirby, who plays drums for Bliss and Esso.
Yeah.
He has he owns a little studio just around the corner from where I live in Melbourne, and I tracked the drums for our single "Flyaway" in that room, and he plays that snare drum in all of his work and his sort of kit setup, and I had never tried one before, and I left it set up because I actually just walked into his room and just used his kit because I was too lazy to bring my own stuff in. And he had it set up in his setup, and I just left it there. And then what I found was when I was recording Flyaway, I moved over to that for some of the verse sections and even one of the breakdowns in Flyaway. And I went, that's it. That's sort of my next little sprinkling of flavor that I want to bring into, this new record. And so if you listen throughout the record, you'll hear moments where you can just hear this tiny crazy little cranked up snare drum, and it's a vibe. I really like it. I think it's cool. It is.
At the moment I heard it live, I was like, fuck, that thing is like that thing's mental. I can see why it inspired you to like add that. Like, I'm like, oh man, I think we're going to hear a lot more of this from bands in the hardcore sort of new metal scene, because that thing's just great, especially live. So yeah, man. So this album, So do you produce and record it yourself, do you?
Yeah, so I have produced, mixed and mastered
Hmm.
every single song that Ocean Grove has put out
Wow.
from 2012, I want to say.
Right. So and is it just Ocean Grove that you work on, or have you worked on other projects as well, like over the years?
No,
Yeah.
I've worked on, I say it I say it humbly, but
Hmm.
pretty much any big band or any big heavy band that you could think of, I've probably worked with them in some way. You know, I've worked, excuse me, I've worked with bands like Thornhill.
Yep.
I've worked with bands like
So
Justice
that's
for
your
the Band, Endless Heights. You know, I've
yeah, yeah.
excuse me, Hellions. I've pretty much worked with
Do you
most bands.
do you find it difficult producing for your own music because when you're a producer and a recording engineer, it's easy to jump into someone else's project and just go, "This is how I think it should sound," and bang. But when it's your own stuff, do you find you get really picky and fussy, and it's really hard to finish the project because of that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
You know, I try not to overshare it, but I always mention it just in case people don't know.
Mm.
But I am the main songwriter and always have been in Ocean
Yeah.
Grove, and so when it comes from, I've spent all this time writing the songs, tracking all the instruments. By the time it gets to the mixing phase, I'm
Mm.
already so deep into an album project
Yeah.
that when things like the mix isn't working the way I need it to, or it doesn't sound how I need it to sound just yet,
Mm.
album processes and creation time can be pretty difficult for me,
Yeah.
if I'm
I can
honest.
imagine that. Yep.
But I think at the end of the day, it always gets there.
Hmm.
A little bit of, yeah, mental turmoil for an album creation. It might do
Yeah.
me all right.
I always find it's really hard when you're writing and recording and producing your own stuff, like to to not switch off or switch off at the right times, but not for too long, so you can get that fresh set of ears on it and that sort of third person perspective on the song. Because like quite often, like you'll go back, it's like when you've got like a million demos of random things going on, you go back like a year later, why didn't I keep working on that? Because you got sick of it, right? Like
Yeah.
so. Yeah, no, it's amazing how you've managed to condense down all of these songs to short and sweet. Um, the album went straight through, and it was just a vibe straight through. All of these electronic, industrial sounds, and the vocal performance on this sounds great. Like, that's Luke Holmes on vocals, isn't it? Who sings for you guys?
Well, he is now back in the mix. So he was our old singer,
Yep.
and he is now back in the mix, helping with writing. He's also
Hmm.
uh, sort of hidden in tracks here and there, some more obvious, some not so obvious. But vocal performance wise, you've got to give it to Dale, who's our frontman,
Yep.
and Twiggy. The two of them, I thought they worked really well together
Hmm.
to create an awesome blend of vocals for this record. And like you said, I think the vocals sound fantastic with what they delivered. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, especially the cleans. They're nice and they're not too over the top, but they just set the scene and the emotion of all of the tracks. And it just goes straight into it with those slammy like tight riffs,
Yeah.
And yeah, I think live this stuff's popping off, and you've been playing some of the songs live, obviously. Touring. Are you on tour at the moment, or are you in between?
I'm personally on tour.
Yep.
I'm out here playing drums for the Amity Affliction at
Oh,
the
yep,
moment.
yep.
But OG, I think we might be done for the year. I think we might
Hmm.
try and sprinkle something at the end of the year.
Okay.
But no, we're the boys are enjoying some time off, and
Mm.
I was doing that, and now I'm back on.
Because you did that whole tour with Polaris, didn't you?
We
Like
did.
the whole regional tour, and there was a lot of shows to get through on that just around Australia. Did you have a particular town that really stood out to you on that regional tour?
Um, I'd have to say, if I can think back to that tour,
Mm.
I think we had the more spoken about positive memory was actually a small town in Tasmania called Forth.
Yeah.
We played Forth, Tasmania, excuse me, and it was just chaotic. And I think we just didn't, we'd never been there before, and we didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
But that Polaris tour was a great run. You know, we've always been really keen on kind of the regional tours. as an outlet to kind of reach so many different people.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
long tour like that Polaris one is a good example of that, because even I thought at the Adelaide show was a highlight as well. I thought that was a great night. Obviously, the ending of that night wasn't amazing for
If you remember, yeah, that poor bloke.
for Polaris, but I thought, yeah, they're doing those sorts of tours. There's always surprise situations where you rock up. I did not expect this show, and that's sort of the fun part.
It blows me away when you do like, yeah, and you have that regional stuff. Just how many kids you forget are in like little country towns and stuff, and they don't get a lot to see. So I think it's so good to set the scene, and it's really good for the music scene. Bands like you guys, and a lot of the hardcore bands did that. Like I remember Northlane used to do that back in the day when they were touring around a lot.
Yeah.
And it really grew that foundation. And I think you guys have really done a good job. I mean, everyone who I know, they go, oh, Ocean Grove. Yeah. Like they just love seeing the band, because especially for that show, like you guys warmed up the crowd so perfectly, and it sounded like the show I was at, it sounded huge. Awesome. Which is excellent. So credit to your sound guy. He tours with you there, because he did an awesome job. So yeah, and I'm a live sound guy too myself, so I can really appreciate when a mix is nice, and in that room particularly that I saw you guys in. So yeah, this is on November 22. So you've released maybe half the songs on this record. So there's a few surprises to come. So if out of this whole album, what is your favorite song to listen to, and what's your favorite song to play?
Oh, it's a tough one. I want to say my favorite song to listen to at the moment, it might be our most recent single, Last Dance, because it's for me anyway, it's such a beautiful piece of music that I think a lot of artists will tell you this. It's kind of hard to get caught up in the moment of and almost the routine of you write music, you release it, you wait for an album campaign, and then you start touring, and it keeps going. There's not always time, I find, to sit down and actually listen to something you've made and really be proud of that, and kind of take a moment to be like, wow, I kind of can't believe that this is what exists now because of something that I've thought of, or that the group and I have worked on together to create this piece of music. And I think I had a moment the other day listening to Last Dance particularly, where I was just reminded, going, I'm so proud of this song, and what we were able to create with that track. So for listening purposes, I think I'd have to say that. There's a surprise packet song on the album called Stunner, and I won't say too much, but I think that's one of my favorite songs for personal music reasons and influence reasons.
Is that something you enjoy playing the most as well, or is it?
Well, we haven't debuted that one yet, just because it's
obviously
album's not out just yet. But I think that one will be one that I'll really enjoy playing. But I guess if stuff is already out, I've got to say probably playing Flyaway is one of my favorites, because I think that's a really really boppy song that you can chuck it in a live set and everyone is just jumping. I love that. Yeah,
it goes hard, man. Everything on this album it just flowed, as I said. Like, that's when you've got a good album, when you can just go start to finish and you go, oh, is that over? And it leaves you wanting more. And you go, I can see that. Is this likely the sound you're going to continue on into the future a fair bit more?
I think you could say it's probably the base point. I'd say that it's something that I'll be sort of going back to know, kind of, what we could do as sort of a minimum point, and then always expand. We're always looking to experiment and trial different things each record. So for the moment, I'm having a lot of fun kind of going back to this sound. So who knows? It might stay around a little longer. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be a winner. That's what Ocean Grove to me always sort of was. It had to have that new metal vibe to it, and but obviously musicians, we do what we want, at the end of the day, and things change and the times change. So the release formats, you've got this on obviously all the internet streaming stuff and all that. So I do a lot of with Blank Page, I do a lot of vinyl stuff. Are you guys doing a vinyl release for this at all?
We are, yeah. So I think if you could check our socials, there's I want to say 5 or 6 different variants
Yep.
of all the flashy colors and whatnot.
Yeah, that's so cool now. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of that stuff. But yeah, I think there's some Australian exclusives, which you can only get through the Australian store, and then
Yep.
there's a few for the overseas, which have some different stuff. Which I might actually say that I think our American vinyl variants are maybe my favorite, which is it's kind of annoying because I'd love for our primary market is obviously Australia, so
Yeah.
I'd love for some of the diehard fans to get their hands on those. So, but they might still be able to.
Well, Australia does this breed of Australian metal. I think we do it. It's so unique. It's like obviously it's got that new metal vibe, but the way we do it, it's very Australian. And I think when I remember like things everyone says about Australian bands is like they hear a song, go, of course this fucking band's Australian,
Yeah.
because everyone's so good, right? And so yeah, I'll definitely be picking up a copy. I think so. That's good. I was like, that's the one thing I need to check is vinyl release because I love collecting all the local bands. And down here, down under. So yeah. Oh, we must be coming up close to the end now. So Sam, thank you very, very much for taking the time this morning. It's nearly 9:20 when we're speaking now. So, for musicians, that's like 3 a.m.
That's it's even worse for me because I'm in Brisbane, so it's 8:50 right now. So
oh yeah,
no, you're fine. It's nice to chat here, and yeah, I appreciate your time and interest in the whole thing.
No, thank you, Sammy. I'll be cranking this up along over on the car trip into the city later on today, I reckon, because it's it's awesome. Well done, man. You should be very proud of it. And yeah, I'll be pushing this onto everyone that I know as well. They'll love it. So cool.
Beautiful.
Can't wait for the release. All right. Thanks, Sam.
Ben. Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Bye.